Well, today on TOOP TV Fireside Chat, we have Chris Gray. He's the CEO of Empire, and you will have seen him, I'm sure, on Your Money, Your Call. And Chris, welcome to Adelaide.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Now, just a couple of questions, specific questions. What and where should people be buying based on your snapshot? You are in Adelaide, so we've discussed that before the show, but what's your advice to people?
Look, I think the main thing is for the majority of people that don't know property inside out, go for safe and solid and go for a 10 to 30 year time frame, because that's going to reduce your risk. As long as you're not a forced seller, you'll generally always make money in property. So if you typically buy within a few k's of the city centres where they can't build lots of high towers, so there's a shortage of supply, there's plenty of demand, then that's pretty safe, and that's any city around Australia pretty much. But the bigger cities you go to, there's obviously going to be less risk there. But certainly if it's on your doorstep, so if you live in Adelaide, there's nothing wrong with buying in Adelaide whatsoever.
Home state versus interstate?
Yeah, so the risk is as soon as you go interstate, you don't understand the market. So typically for Sydney people, we go up to Queensland, and for the price I buy a 2-bedroom unit, I can buy a 5-bedroom house, even if the sellers are ripping me off and charging me double up there. Just like if I come down to Adelaide, I wouldn't understand what is the right value for money down here. And so it's very hard, no matter where you live in the world, to buy in a foreign country or in a foreign state.
Inner city versus out, houses versus units, new versus old.
Yeah, look, I typically prefer the inner suburbs because it's more condensed there, there's less supply of land, there's more people that want to live there, and that pushes prices up. Whereas if you go to the outer suburbs, there's less demand, so there's less growth, but there's probably more rental yield. So if you want more rental yield, go further out. Houses versus units, it really depends on what people live in that area. So Sydney, Melbourne, I'll buy a unit in the inner city. Anywhere else in Australia, I'll probably buy a house because that's what the average person lives in for the median price.
And new versus old?
New versus old, look, the benefits of new is you get depreciation. But quite often buying new, developers sell very well, and so quite often you're paying a premium for that. Whereas with second hand, there's no depreciation, but quite often you can add value by doing kitchen, bathroom, and then you've maybe bought it for 6, put 70 into it, cost you 670, but it's worth 700, so you've made some money on day one.
And the best way to buy, Will, there's a lot of information on your website about the profits in the buying, which we completely understand. Any tips on that?
The best thing is you've got to get to know your agent, because the agent's the person in between the vendor and you. And so a lot of people, for some reason, dislike agents, and I can't understand why. They're very nice people. And
not in South Australia. They all love us.
Australia. They don't give them their phone numbers, but then they complain when the agents don't give them a call to say it's sold. So as professionals, we buy most of our properties as silent sales, where vendors want a quick sale. They'd rather have a bird in the hand, so like cash today is worth more than a promise tomorrow. And so we're always trying to do a quick, easy deal that benefits the agent, the buyer, the seller, and you've got to be best friends with the agent. So I spend most of my time working with the agents now, going on holiday, going to their weddings, going to the christenings, because that's the most important person in the business that we're in. But most people won't go to those kind of efforts.